Hello and welcome to my singular subscriber. You're a real one. Have you ever watched a dance ranking and heard someone say something like, "This person is low because this is a real dance ranking and not an idol dance ranking," or seen a comment that says, "So and so is a good idol dancer but isn't that good of a real dancer"? Me too, and I get the sense that no one actually understands this term of idol dancing that they are throwing around. In this two-part series, I am going to attempt to categorize and analyze idol dancing technique, and objectively determine whether or not idol dancing is different from so-called real dancing. Let's get started. Part 1. Defining dance genres. Just like anything, you can't draw clear-cut lines between dance genres. The history of all dance forms are intertwined and built off of each other. In reality, there really is no point putting so much effort in distinguishing one dance genre from another because it puts up a barrier to innovation. However, it is useful in what I am about to do because standards of technique are not consistent across genres. What is good technique in ballet is bad technique in hip-hop and can even seem like substandard technique in similar genres like modern dance. First, let's set out a map of major dance genres to get an idea of general scope and where idol dancing might fit in. Insert massive disclaimer here. These are nowhere near all of the dance genres nor all the subgenres. There is also Irish dancing, tap, ballroom, and hundreds more. However, I'm not going to talk about every single dance style out there because I don't have the time. Here we have a range of genres from ballet to hip-hop. And surprise, you're getting an education because I am so sick of K-pop fans saying things like this.
But imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
Ballet originated during the 1400s in the Italian courts. However, its early stages of development occurred mostly in France when ballet fan and Italian aristocrat Catherine de Médicis was married to Henry II of France. She funded the first true ballet production in history, Ballet Comique de la Reine. During the mid to late 1600s, King Louis XIV founded the first two ballet academies. At this point, ballets were still performed as the side dishes to opera. However, by the 1750s, ballet masters independent of the Paris Opera followed the work of Paris Nova to create a standalone, theatrical form of ballet influenced by pantomime. It was during this period that ballet began spreading across Europe. The French Revolution of 1789 and the fall of Napoleon in 1815 plunged the country into nearly a century of intense political turmoil, but also a period of rapid change in ballet. Notably, a stop in royal funding forced Paris Opera to privatize, leading to the development of Romanticism in ballet. Over in Italy, ballerina Marie Tagliani would become the first ballerina to dance on point. During the late 1800s, the Imperial Russian Ballet dominated the scene as the legendary collaboration between choreographer Marius Petipa and Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky created The Sleeping Beauty, The Nutcracker, and Swan Lake, reinvigorating the ballet world. World War II in 1945 marked a fundamental split in ballet's evolution. When communist and capitalist ideologies clashed during the Cold War, a divide in artistry formed between what was then the Soviet Union and the US. While ballet in the West was used as an exploration of individual technique and artistic freedom, the East used it as a source of propaganda and viewed change in ballet as a rejection of Russian values and tradition. This brings us into a branch of ballet called neoclassical. Russian dancer and choreographer George Balanchine is credited with the creation of a new subgenre of ballet during the early 1900s. Though he began choreographing in his teens, his pieces were too experimental and were deemed unacceptable for the Russian public. Luckily, he found freedom in the touring ballet company, Ballet Russes, founded by Russian patron Sergei Diaghilev, and he defected to the West in 1924. One of his greatest accomplishments was founding the New York City Ballet, which continues to perform his choreography in the unique style he created. Basically, while classical ballet looks like this, neoclassical ballet looks like this. Modern dance emerged in the US during the late 1800s as an artistic rebellion, mainly against the rigidness of ballet. The first modern dancer was a woman named Isadora Duncan, known especially for her theatricality. The first formal school of modern dance, the Denishorn School, was founded by Ruth St. Denis and Ted Shorn. Doris Humphrey developed a technique based on the principle of fall and recovery and honed the structure of modern choreography, especially through dance formations. Martha Graham's movement was based on the principle of contraction and release. Katherine Dunham integrated ritual and folk dances from different black cultures into modern. Lester Horton integrated Native American dancing into his more dynamic version of modern. Notably, his choreography used intertwining bodies to mimic the effect of the hoops used in Native American hoop dance. Merce Cunningham led the way into postmodern dance, which was a weird mix of repetition, minimalism, mixed media productions, etc., founded on the principle that all movement was dance. Twila Tharp reintroduced technique and narrative into this genre. Jazz dance is based on the types of African dance brought to the US through the slave trade. Vernacular jazz dance, as we now call it, are the original dance moves that accompanied jazz music and later evolved into tap dance. Theater jazz was created in the 1930s by modern dancer Jack Cole when he meshed his choreography with East Indian and African dance. Commercial jazz dance is a further iteration of theater jazz, continuing to take inspiration from ballet, tap, voguing, and more. Whacking originated in the gay clubs of Los Angeles during the 1970s, during a time when it was unacceptable for gay men to express themselves in public. It was originally called punking as a way to reclaim the word punk, a derogatory term for gay men, but was changed to whacking when straight people liked the dance but didn't want the negative connotations. The dance took inspiration from the exaggerated movements in Hollywood films and Looney Tunes cartoons, and the whacking arm movement itself comes from nunchucks. Although the 1980s HIV/AIDS epidemic nearly wiped out an entire generation of teachers, Brian Greene began teaching whacking back in 2003 and catalyzed its resurgence. In the late 1960s, non-dancer Don Campbell tried to do the trendy funky chicken dance in his lunch cafeteria but kept pausing at weird times. His unique style was very popular with his friends and originally got dubbed the Camp Belloc. Campbell formed his own group called the Lockers in 1971 with former ballerina Toni Basil, which pushed locking to mainstream fame. In the environment of 1975 Fresno, California's declining economy, Sam Solomon created a dance style called boogaloo. This style combined fluid and circular movements of body parts with sudden tensing of the muscles influenced by the spastic movements he would see women do during praise breaks at the First Corinthian Baptist Church. He formed the Electric Boogaloos in 1978 with fellow dancers who had been independently developing similar hitting styles. The Boogaloos traveled from North to South California and even to Hollywood, but their big break came when they appeared on the popular dance show Soul Train in 1979. Thomas Johnson, or Tommy the Clown, created the dance style clowning in 1992 while performing at children's birthday parties and other social events. He performed with a dance troupe known as the Hip Hop Clowns. Two of the members, Cesar Tight Eyes Willis and Jortis Big Mijo Ratty, felt limited by the cheerful style of clowning and left the group to develop a more raw form of the dance. This new style was named Crumb after an acronym coined by the lyrics of a 1990 song that stood for Kingdom Radically Uplifted Mighty Praise. House dancing originally just meant any type of dancing done to house music. House music was created by two New York City DJs who mixed disco with other musical styles, but this new music was popularized at a Chicago club called The Warehouse. Because house music spread to many diverse clubs and parties, house dancing ended up as a mix between African dance, jazz, tap, martial arts, and Latin dance. Specific house dance steps were set in New York during the early 2000s by both individual house dancers and dance organizations. Finally, we are here. Before we start, I just have to make clear that hip-hop is not a blanket term for every dance style performed in sneakers. In fact, the only forms of hip-hop dance are break dancing and party dancing. Break dancing began in the Bronx when DJ Kool Herc, who threw the first hip-hop party, began to extend the breakbeat of a song to get the crowd hype. Break dancing gets its name because the partygoers would dance during the breakbeats. Party dancing is another form of dancing that emerged and is based heavily in groove. These are trendy dance moves that could be done by everybody. The whip and nay-nay would be considered party dances. Also, by definition, hip-hop dance has to have emerged out of hip-hop culture. Although hip-hop varies significantly between the East and West Coast, in both cases it was created as a reaction to bad circumstances, drugs, unemployment, poverty, and collapsing infrastructure. This culture is usually said to have 5 elements: DJing, MCing, graffiti, breaking, and knowledge. Each of these cultural elements built off of each other and real-life circumstances to create the hip-hop dance we know today. When you look at it like this, it's really clear that only breaking and party dancing are hip-hop dance styles. The other associated styles like popping and locking not only look different, but have an entirely different history. Now, you might be wondering, if we can't call it hip-hop, what do we call dance like this? In addition to the genres I just went over, there are dance styles that I like to call pull genres. A pull genre means that the style of each piece is up to an individual choreographer. They can choose to pull in elements from any foundational style. Contemporary is a pull genre of mostly ballet, modern, and jazz, while urban dance is a pull genre from mostly street dances like hip-hop. Urban dance, or urban dance choreography, refers to a particular dance culture that emerged during the 1990s in Southern California. Dancers began to form teams, and pretty soon, formal competitions were set up. Like the name suggests, this genre is almost entirely choreographed. To put it simply, urban dance is performance-based and choreographed while street dance is social and improvisational. Could you see influences of modern, jazz, whacking, and popping in the dances you just watched? Could you also tell that they were mixed and infused with the choreographer's individual style and don't fit into any foundational category? Did you also notice that I snuck NCT in there? Since idol dances are created by urban choreographers, they pull from varying foundational styles in exactly the same way that urban dances do. Difficulty really is the only difference, and that is not a quality you can use to determine whether or not something belongs in a genre. This alone doesn't mean that idol dancing and urban dancing are equivalent because two genres can have the same steps but apply different technical standards to them. However, all of the top dancers in K-pop received training in urban dance or one of its source genres before entering the industry. Therefore, the K-pop industry itself has made clear that an idol dancer with good technique is an urban dancer with good technique. Just like with choreography, the only difference between the two is the average level of the dancers. An outstanding dancer in K-pop is just good as an urban dancer. This is also not enough to say idol dancing is different from urban dancing since both are striving for the same standard of technique, regardless of how they measure up to their peers. Wait a minute. If idol dancing is urban dancing, and urban dancing is real dancing, doesn't that mean that idol dancing is real dancing? Yes. I am so over people saying ridiculous things like, the difference between real dance and idol dance is that idol dance depends more on stage presence. Any dancer knows that this is completely untrue. The best dancers all have incredible stage presence and great facial expressions. It's true in any genre that no matter how good your technique is, no one will want to watch you if your face is boring and you don't have presence. So idol dancing is not only real dancing, but it is also the same as urban dancing. Is this the end of the story? I spent this video explaining where idol dancing fits into the rest of dance. I still haven't dived into the specifics of idol dancing. Technically, though, idol dancing is indeed urban dancing, and I've found that most of the people who deny this are trying to push forward their own petty agenda within the fandom. Misinformation and ignorance about dance run so rampant in the K-pop community, and I truly hope that this video can play a part in solving this issue. Come back next time for part 2, Dissecting the Ideal Idol Dancer.